up. And all right, I think we're back. We're back. Okay, we're on YouTube. We're back on Twitch. I'm back in action. All right, so that's very upsetting because I was drawing this alligator. I was finding this pose. All this stuff happened, and none of it was documented other than me talking. So that really sucks. And this has happened 2 days in a row now. I'll do some more research and try to figure out why I've been getting this frozen stream thing happening, but it's pretty irritating. I got to get my multi chat up. My dock, unified chat. All right, got the unified chat going again. All right, now at least I've got this fixed. Boy, I tell you, stinking thing was just not even working. I drew this alligator in lightning speed too. It's so freaking frustrating that I didn't have that for posterity, for my generations of other mini Sams to be able to see and witness the greatness of their great grandfather, old Uncle Sam Crescent, the guy that created strength monsters that will hopefully help support my future generations for eons to come, that they'll be able to manage this IP properly and correctly. You only have 95 years from my death to do something with it until it becomes public domain. But you very easily, if I can get this thing built out, this could very easily become a piece of legacy IP created in this new era of whatever the hell we're in now. I was watching a very interesting video yesterday on AI, basically on LLMs, and pretty much the premise is that it's useless for everybody, for anyone that's professional. So basically it has some helpful indications for like lay people, like maybe you're trying to look up like a medication side effects or something like that. You might be able to get some information in there that might help you a little bit. If you're just like you don't know how to code or write computer programs and you just want to make a little widget or something like for personal use that can halfway work, you can vibe code it out, you know. But anybody that's trying to make anything professionally, any real programmer or coder, someone that's like wants to actually make something they're going to ship, that's going to be used by tons of people, that's going to be taken to market, it's essentially been confirmed that the AI tools, the LLM tools, will not help you. They won't get it made, and you just be prompting your way, thinking you're going to get closer and closer to solving the problem or whatever it is you're working on with the prompt. And the reality of the fact is that you would have got it done faster if you just quit trying to prompt your way through it and just actually solve the problem and code it out the thing. And I've been there where I've worked on website. I'm working on my own website, and I've been there where I've been stuck and trying to get the LLM to fix it and realize like that it can't. Having to go back to the old school way of looking up YouTube videos, looking up, things on forums, or looking up other pieces of code and seeing how it was done, and then reverse engineering and figuring out like what I had to fix to get the website to work the way I wanted it to. Sometimes I'll like know what the problem is because the way that the LLM does it is it's like, oh, there's a problem, so it just starts with the top and it just tries to diagnose every single thing that could go wrong, which now you've got so many tokens out there, so many potential solutions that you're really not any closer to a solution, because you can just go through every problem yourself. But if you have a better idea of what the problem is, I feel like you're going to get it solved faster just that way than trying to come up with every single freaking thing. And in the video, he had a very interesting point of view where he said, imagine an LLM is like an alien life form that we've discovered, and we basically we found this alien life form that has some level of intelligence. Well, we pretty much know what that level of intelligence is now, and it's not going to get more intelligent. Like, it's just going to be, and then he made a very good point that I agree with as far as the valuation of these companies is they're asking you to basically value and buy into this thing based on this speculative idea that there's going to be new technology that's going to be evolved or that's going to come about that will then suddenly make it more useful or more valuable. And it's just absolute, when it comes to investing, that is an absolute Looney Tunes way to be thinking about how you would invest and allocate capital to get a strong future return. You might as well just put your money into a slot machine, pull the lever, and hope you get the winning combination, because that's about how likely you are to end up on top if your long-term thesis is essentially that. It's bad as far as I'm concerned, and I am not in anything. I'm trying to not be in. It's good. It's a pull-out game, basically. You could get into this. You could get into this tech right now, and all this AI tech companies. There's a million of them, and everyone thinks that they're super smart because they're like, "Oh, I'm so smart. I'm selling picks and shovels." Well, why? Because you invested in a microchip company. You think you got the picks and shovels, man? What do you think's going to happen? Eventually, what's going to happen is total capitulation. And when these companies realize that the amount of money that they're spending on these chips to build these data centers to run these program is not returning anything on their investment, anything close to their spend. And that's the problem. They're like, the only way, so right now they're looking at this thing and they're going, okay, the layperson, they're not going to pay $200, $300, $400 a month for this thing, and that's what they need to actually be profitable. They're never going to be profitable. In all these AI things are never LLMs. They're not AIs. LLMs. They're never going to be profitable running at a $20 per month thing. They need big money, and the way right now they're seeing the solution is business to business. We need to sell this tech to companies, to corporations, and what we got to have them do is they're going to have to pay us like we have to be able to replace employees is what the narrative is. They have to be able to replace employees, because then they say, oh, okay, are you spending $70,000 a year on this guy? Well, we could get you to do it for $40,000 or $30,000 or $20,000, $15,000, and they can start selling this stuff for, now they can actually cover their nut, and it's profitable. Well, the problem is that that's not going to happen. It's not going to be able to replace the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 per year employee, most likely. Or if anything, some of the reporting looks like it might even make it take longer to do anything with it. Now, the thing about it all is, talking about the capitulation that's going to happen. Then they're like, well, like there's this guy, I'm watching this video and he's like, yeah, and then we've got the pick and shovels. Now we've got the blueprints. So he's investing in like ARM and these companies that design the chips. And, you know, he's like, you think you're so smart because you figured out, you know, you broke down every component. And he's like, and then we need, you know, we're going to need memory. So he's like investing in MU. And the memory, you know, they make, I believe they make the memory chip, long-term memory chips and all that, because they're going to, he knows, oh, they're going to need that. But the end of the day, you don't have any information that everybody else doesn't already know. Like all that stuff, do you think you know about? You think you know something because you know about ARM or MU or anything? Guess what? Everybody knows that. Anybody that's studying anything to do with the technology or paying attention to it, they know it. This is not secret information, and it's well known. You have nothing, you know. Now you look at a guy like Michael Burry, who's, you know, shorting the whole thing. Well, the problem is I think he's too early, and that's the whole problem with shorting, is that the market could stay crazy for a very, very long time, and you're just never gonna, you know, when are you gonna? You will be right eventually, but when? And can you afford to wait that long? But you know, I keep talking about this because these are my receipts, man. So when this whole thing goes down, when everything burns up, I can pull out this and the scoreboard. Sam was right. I knew what I was talking about the whole time. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing about it. Scoreboard. And I know that I will be right. And that's just the way it's going to be, unfortunately. But what can we do about it, you know? Really nothing. But, you know, it's what's going to happen. You just have to wait for it. And what else could I tell you about all this, though, is let's just talk about the whole capitulation thing, the whole, when this thing actually does burn down, you know, there's a lot of things here that are looking really bad when it comes to the way the stocks and the economy are. So, you know, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of indexing that's happening now. And a lot of push towards indexing. Well, what is indexing? Do you know that? It's buying an index of stocks. And it's worked well, very well, and produced really good returns for people over the last 40 years. But does that mean it's going to keep doing it? No, realize that the indexes that if you're buying into an index now, it is not the same index that your parents or your grandparents bought by any means. Like, first of all, the total huge, like, monopolization of industry was not the same when they were buying these indexes. You're buying the S&P. The S&P that you buy now absolutely looks nothing like the S&P that your parents bought. I mean, we're talking about an S&P here that's super expensive now, that's got a super high, much higher PE ratio, and that's profits to earnings ratio across all the various businesses, but it's also very much just driven by like 7 companies. So it's no longer an equally weighted 500 businesses, strongest businesses in America. It's pretty much, you know, Apple, Google, Amazon, you know, NVIDIA, and those are going to move the whole thing. They're moving the whole thing. So you're not buying what the same thing that people bought when they did it 40 years ago, 30 years ago, even 20 years ago. It's just not the same. What can you do about it? Well, I believe you've got to look. You got to learn how to invest. You've got to go back to thesis driven investing, valuations, actually looking at companies, actually looking at earnings, actually reading their balance sheet, looking at what this thing is worth. If I was going to buy this business, is it a good deal right now? What businesses are a good deal? It comes down to those kind of fundamentals, and the people that have mastered them, they'll continue to be fine. The problem is nobody knows what I just said. They don't master those fundamentals. They don't understand any of it, and they're not going to be fine. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. And that's pretty much my whole rant for stocks and stuff for now. And I'm not like I'm that interested in stocks. I'm interested in business. Specifically, I see business as a lot of people don't like, artists do not like business, but I understand it. And to me, it's another vector through which I can apply my creativity. It's another way, it's another way of using your imagination to bring things into fruition and make things happen in real life. That's why I like business, because I've been able to use it to do that stuff. Now, it's a different language, and it can be frustrating. It can be brutal. The reality is the whole world is brutal right now. I hate that it's that way, but it just is, man. The world is always kind of, my whole worldview is like, yes, the world is brutal, and it's always been brutal. In fact, it's more nice now than it ever was, because the mean of the human experience across civilization has just been enslavement and suffering, just being ruled over by some lord, and most of humanity is just a peasant over the history of the entire, mankind. That's been the mean experience. Hunger, starvation, all of those things is the mean. That's we take the whole history of mankind. That's what the average humankind has experienced. And the amount of prosperity that's in the world now, as rough as it is more still than probably there's ever been in history up to this point. Eventually, I see it reverting back to the mean. And what I think is going to take us back there is technology. That ultimately we're going to all re-enslave ourselves, and it's already happening with all the technology that we're developing. And the way that's happening, and you can see it, is you're already losing your freedom. You're going to lose your freedom. You're going to have a car that's going to be controlled by the government. Everything you own is going to track you. It's going to know, it already does. It's going to know where you are. It's going to know what you're doing. It's going to report it either to other companies and businesses, to governments, to whoever wants to extract whatever value they can out of you, which is basically your labor is the only value you have as far as a business or a government's concerned. It's whatever value you can produce via work. That's all they care about. That's what they're paying for. And that's pretty much the whole thing. Even this whole thing like, well, we're in the attention economy, blah, 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 blah. Attention is where the value is. Attention. Only if you can... Attention's only useful if you can somehow convert it to some kind of... to monetization, to some kind of capital. Otherwise, I don't see... attention's not going to be worth anything, It's just... you look at a chart with the, if you look at a chart with, I think it was like the number one shows, like most, I saw this chart the other day on the internet. It was really interesting. It was finales, television finales, and it was the most watched, most watched, most watched TV finales, and the numbers were absolutely insane, man. I mean, we were talking like 30 million people watching the finale to, I think MASH was the most that anybody watched. Now, why? Well, it a lot of it has to do with the time period and the way entertainment was at that time. So, MASH was a huge show and there's nothing else to watch. And this was a appointment driven television. So if you didn't, I lived through the era of appointment driven television. If you did not go see the show when it aired, then you wouldn't see it until the rerun. Like, that was the way it was. And so you had people, tons of them would they would tune in. They would make sure they were there to see it. So anyway, this chart, I had to think about this drawing. That's why I stopped talking, because I had figured out what's going on with this gorilla. Well, I'm doing it like this. Now, we're going to draw this fist in here, but with appointment driven television is like, that it's an era that's over. And so attention used to be massively concentrated into a few things, right? Like, I remember, like, so there's a show, The Wonder Years was on the list of the most watched finales, and it was actually pretty far down on the list. Full House was on the list. MASH was on the list. Cheers was on the list. Cheers was way up there. MASH was way up there. A lot of them were grown-up shows that I never watched. Like, to me, Cheers and MASH were grown-up shows, even though I think they were supposed to be comedies for everybody. But I don't know those, man. But I was watching but I was looking at those numbers, and that's an era. It will never happen again, because now it's everything is niche. Now we are seeing big numbers though, and the big numbers we're seeing though is with anime stuff, which is pretty interesting. And I think it's because there's like a few generations. There's a reason why though. There's this. Especially though, like the Pokemon, I mean, the One Piece and all this stuff though, there's this whole collectability thing to it. There's this whole speculative, like, money making side to it. There's all this kind of stuff going on with it where you get all this greed, because like people are, my brother just sent me this thing about getting a vending machine up and going, like a Pokemon vending machine, that these things are just blowing up, that they have to shut them down because people will just come in and buy everything on the machine trying to get the pack. And it really is just like another form of gambling now, where you have the rush of, let's open up this pack of cards and see if I get the chaser, or the chaser meaning the card everyone's chasing after, not like, I don't know if there's a Pokemon named Chaser, and then as someone like me who's making a collectible card game, it's like, well, I guess I'm probably gonna have some chasers and stuff, and that's because there's nothing wrong with it. It's fun. It's just when the greed behind it overrules all this common sense, and you just start seeing all this craziness. And maybe it's just a sign of how desperate everybody is right now too, as far as the economy goes, and how expensive everything's become, and how difficult it has become to get by now. Boy, I tell you, man, it almost sounds like I don't want to be doom and gloom because I'm not. I'm very optimistic as far as, well, what keeps me optimistic is largely my art, to be honest, because I just enjoy it. It brings me a lot of happiness to my life and fulfills me in a very meaningful way. And so the whole world can pretty much go to shit and I'll still be fine because I can still express myself this way and do this. And that's pretty much it. So let's knock this original sketch down. It's kind of in the way. I'm not really following what it's doing. I'm going to switch the perspective on, where is this guy? I'm going to switch the perspective on that fish, but we've got to get the legs in here and we can, whoa. Get a leg in here like this. I could put a gorilla foot right here. Well, the way these things walk, though, actually is when this hand's forward, this foot's back. So it'd be like that. And this foot's forward. So we won't even see this foot because it's going to be way back here. And this one's going to be up close to this hand. Like that. Something like that. So we could do that. Now, I want to redo this hand because I don't like the perspective on it. So what would this perspective be? Well, let's just construct it out. We're going to have the wrist locking in to a box here that's going down to the ground. The thumbs coming out like this. And these gorillas actually have pretty short thumbs. And then we've got these knuckles coming in here. And then we'll do some stuff like that. And we can get some of those muscles like the interosseous muscle, the abductor digiti minimi. And these knuckles actually will put them down that way more. All right, let's clean that up. So that's kind of more what we want. Now let's bring the fur through here. And then knuckle this guy up here. So there's one. Let's make this one more of a triangular shape. Two. Get these on. Okay, good. The stream is still going. I gotta just always remember to make sure that this stream is still going. And we got the AI spam guy in here. And there we go. Another example of these AI spam people trying to cash in on the hype that it's going to bring down. You know, we could have 10 years of just drawdowns, man. It's going to be insane. But there's going to always be stuff of value. I mean, right, I was big in commodities. Now their commodities are getting expensive. And I'm kind of cycling out of those because you want to cycle in and out. You've got to look at each one and be like, well, what's expensive? Ore, copper, why? Because of all the AI build out, people are like, oh, we're investing in copper, we're investing in energy, we're, you know, all these guys that think they know, that they have, all these people that think they have special information, but as I explained, they actually don't. they are driving the price of some of these commodities up. So if you bought them years ago, some of them you're going to be up pretty good. Sell them. Eventually, when the capitulation happens, all these commodities are going to come down, and you can buy them back super cheap again. And then in another 5-10 years, when we cycle into something else, you'll be able to buy them again. I mean, sell them again for a lot. That's how you play the game, more or less. That's supposed to be his foot in the background. I'm kind of like debating whether or not I should even show it because it doesn't really look like much of anything. But yeah, I'll put it there. All right, let's line weight this guy in and make some more sense out of him. I mean, I pretty much pulled this gorilla straight out of my ass as far as when it comes to making things up. I mean, you can see, even if I show you the drawing that's underneath it, which I will right now, my original layout of this page. Okay, that's what I laid out. And you can see what I drew is follows it to a degree, but it just basically, the layout just tells me where the thing's supposed to be and what the overall shape is. Now, and that's the point of doing those drawing exercises at the beginning of the day and trying to rotate the shapes around and all that boring stuff that's really mentally challenging. The point of it is just to be able to I gotta get off this pen. We need to go to this felt pen. I want a dead line weight I can outline this dude with. The point of those exercises is just to try to get to where you can pull things straight out of your proverbial butt right on the fly as you need to. And the only way to get to that point is doing a lot of studies, a lot of exercises, a lot of repetition, a lot of looking at things and drawing them, things of that nature. But if you enjoy the process of doing that, then it's not very hard. But if you don't enjoy that process, it could be hard. If you like making stuff up, though, and you realize it's going to help you with that, then you just do it. And you can still pull up reference. It will help. I just am usually trying to move through things at a faster speed, and so I don't have time, like for example this hand, like I don't have time to search around. If I had to stop and search around and try and find the hand that's in the position that I'm trying to draw, if I did find it, it would for sure improve my drawing of the hand. Like I would have a better hand there. But the amount of time it would take, it's going to slow down everything else, and then you're going and that's the problem with it, basically. Now, sometimes if you're struggling really hard, it might be faster to look up the solution because then you have the solution there. You know, it might take you longer to resolve it without being able to find that solution. What am I doing, man? That's not what I want. I'm going to put a thick outline on this guy's head because we need to know. You kidding me? This thing's froze again? All right, got to stop the stream and restart it because we are frozen yet again.